Sponsored by Fisherman's Friend.
2 Englishmen, 2 Scotsmen and an Irishman. No, it's not a joke. It's Heat 3 of Britain's Strongest Man 2007. Welcome from the lifeboat station here in Minehead. Now, we've already seen Mark Felix, Jimmy Marcoux, Terry Hollands and Lawrence Salahi book their places in the final of Britain's Strongest Man 2007. 5 more athletes will now stretch every fibre and every sinew for the right to join them. It's Heat 3 of Britain's Strongest Man and time to meet the athletes. Scotland's strongest man, Chris Innes. Also from Scotland, Dave Eastwood. Former bodybuilder, England's Enzo Martino. And the north of England's strongest man, Mark Westerby. And all the way from Ireland, Paul Roberts. Well, 5 big lads getting themselves ready. I am going to get myself ready and see if I can catch lunch. The first task for them, though, will be the anchor and chain.
And it's not an easy task either, the anchor and chain. First of all, they've got to carry an anchor, attach it to the chain, and then carry both anchor and chain the remainder of the distance. It really does send out an early signal to all 5 men that this is big league stuff.
In lane 1, Dave Eastwood from Scotland.
It's originally from Tyneside.
Lane 2, Enzo Martino from England.
Yeah, it's a big step up for him. Man from Essex, his first
Lane 3,
appearance.
Chris Innes from Scotland.
Answers to the nickname of Goose.
Lane 4, Paul Roberts from Ireland.
Has a tremendous powerlifting
And
background.
Lane 5, Mark Westerby, England.
Who will probably start as favourite. So off they go. First of all, the lift and carry, then the attachment, and this is where this race can be won and lost. They all seem to have got that technique sorted out there. It's Westerby that's got the early lead. Innes here in the yellow is chasing him hard. But it's the big farmer that's got his nose in front. The 42-year-old from the north of England. Looking for maximum points, but Innes is still coming. And Innes has got good technique. Can Westerby get there? Oh, that was hard work. I thought for a moment Innes was going to pip him, but Westerby just did enough.
Big surprise there, Nick, because Westerby has the body weight. At least 6 stone on top of Innes, the Scotsman. Good battle, though, by Chris Innes. As for the other guys, they're finding this very hard going. Paul Roberts there, the Irishman, looks like he could be in last position at the moment. He needs a desperate effort here. Look at the other 2, though. It's neck and neck. 1 pull will do.
And that pull is coming from Enzo Martino. Good enough for 3rd place at the moment. Or is there a chance that he could be pipped at the post by Eastwood on the far side? Well, how do you separate those 2? The race for 3rd place was very close, but no doubt about 1 and 2.
Well, I guess you'll separate it by centimetres, but yes, indeed, no doubt about 1 and 2. Westerby driving away, very powerful. He tired, didn't he?
Well, Mark, I'm sure you're used to hauling heavy machinery around on the farm, but an anchor and a chain, a bit different.
Totally different ball game. I'm not really familiar with the anchor and chain. Really tough event for me. But I kept my head and I pulled it through.
Well, you certainly did. And as you say, it's fairly new to you. Were you surprised by it?
At first, I thought, oh, this is not too bad, you know. I thought it was easy. 3/4 of the way down the lane, my legs started seizing up, you know, and it was just sheer willpower that pulled me through.
And there's a lot more to come, but does that put you in the right frame of mind for the next challenges?
Absolutely. I'm switched on now. You'll see some good strongman.
Are you enjoying yourself?
Absolutely. Fantastic.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Mark Westerby used every ounce of that huge frame to good effect to claim the victory here. Chris Innes also very impressive in these slippery conditions. We're underway here in Minehead, and the top 2 have already thrown down the gauntlet to the rest of the field. Coming up after the break is a new event for this series. It's heavy, it's awkward, it's the safe lift.
Welcome back to Minehead, where we move on to the overhead safe lift. Those two safes weigh 110 kilos, and the trick is to lift them overhead from the chest position as many times as you can inside 75 seconds. Well, the first man up, Dave Eastwood, working on his own, managed 6, as you can see in his arms there, that those safes bobble about a little bit. The hard part with this is maintaining control and balance.
Absolutely right, Nick. This is what I love about strongman. A good old-fashioned bar pressing event has been turned into a very, very awkward implement. They swing around all over the place, and 2 new boys to the Britain's Strongest Man scene. We'll see how Roberts and Martino get on with this task.
Roberts in particular has got to really step on the jets here. He came last in the anchor and chain. Martino, a creditable 3rd. Now, 6 is the target to beat. Oh dear, and it's looking tough for Roberts already. That was a wobble and a half there. Yeah, it's so difficult. I mean, you've hit the nail on the head here, Colin. It's not that they can't manage the weight, it's the fact those things are swinging around all over the place. The balance just goes to pieces.
Oh, the weight is nothing for these guys in the gym. But right here at the top of the movement, unless you have huge core strength around the waist, you just start to wobble about.
Martino's having a nightmare. He just cannot get his technique going at all. A newcomer to strongman, and he's really finding it hard, the man on the far side in the red. But it's 4 for Roberts. A couple more for time with Dave Eastwood. Honestly, I saw Eastwood 6 and I thought that was going to be disappointing. It's looking like quite a benchmark, isn't it?
I think anyone who gets near double figures will be doing very well. We saw on the log the likes of Jimmy Marcoux doing 14. It might be heavier, but it's a whole lot easier.
Well, they're going to both learn a lot from this experience, but it's a really, really tough learning experience for Enzo Martino. Just can't get anything going at all, Roberts. Fighting the clock here.
It's not just on the way up either. I've seen this implement cuff a man on the chin on the way back down. It wobbles around so much. Well, there's the result, 0 and 5. Neither of them beat Eastwood 6. Great drive from Paul Roberts with his legs, but he's just not used to that wobble at the top. As for poor old Enzo, huge learning experience.
2 more athletes to go, but the British summertime is having its say here in Minehead. Mark Westerby and Chris Innes will have to wait to lift. The organisers have decided that the ground underfoot is just too slippery for these swinging safes.
Well, now this is going to be interesting, isn't it? 1 minute you're in the competitor's area, getting ready to lift, then you've got to run for cover, only to wait. If Chris Innes here or Mark Westerby allow that to get into their heads, it could be a problem for them. Mark Westerby, though, surely will have no excuse. He's a farmer. He's used to all this changeable weather.
Mark Westerby, York, 42 years old, 6'4", 26 stone. Well, I was 38 when I started, and I thought, well, I'm strong, reasonably fit, do it now. It's either now or never. But I've always been a big guy, worked hard, and I'm strong, naturally very strong. I'm up against, 20 of the strongest men in Britain. I have a lot of respect for everyone who's here. I'm a little more inexperienced in some of these events, but I'm a quick learner. I'm sure I'll pick it up in no time. Get 1 or 2 events out of the way, I'm sure I'll be fine. I've had a very active sort of a lifestyle, especially my work, the farming and etc, etc. I did shot put at school, quite good at shot put, used to be a champion. I suppose my favourite events would be the farmer's walk, plus overhead lifting. Coming from a farming background, I've always liked animals. We keep a few pigs ourselves in our Gloucestershire Old Spots. It's great fun. I just happen to love animals. This is a Gloucestershire Old Spot pig. Most of the milk is at the front, and as she gets to the back, there's less milk. So the best pigs always suckle the front, the biggest pigs. The smallest pigs get pushed out to the back of the sow, so there's not as much milk, therefore they don't grow as big. Not a lot of people know that. Chris. This is Paul. Enzo. And David. I'm not just here to try and win Britain's Strongest Man. I'm here for the farmers of Britain. Cheers. Take your bread.
Well, crushing apples is one thing, lifting safes is quite another. 6 is the target to beat for Mark Westerby and Chris Innes. If both of them can go past that, they'll have each given themselves a very big cushion early in the race to qualify for the final. Remember, the top 2 will go through. Westerby's flying. He looks very comfortable.
They're trying to drive it straight off the floor overhead. Perhaps that cuts out the wobble of taking it onto your chest and then pressing it overhead in 2 movements. Look at Chris Innes. That's great technique.
Innes still needs another one. Westerby looks like he's going for maximum points again. Innes is now level with Eastwood. Now he moves into second place. We could well be looking at the 2 guys that qualify here because they've been 1 and 2 in the first 2 events. That's given themselves a huge start. There's no stopping Westerby. That's impressive. You get double figures in this event, you're doing something very right.
Outstanding. His technique is flawless, and it's not tiring him either by driving it with his legs. And we said this isn't that heavy for these guys. He's literally just catching it at the top and holding it long enough. 15 reps. Outstanding stuff.
And 11 for Innes as well. Not shabby either. 1 and 2 once again.
Well, Mark Westerby might not have much experience in strongman. He didn't even come to the sport until he was 38 years old. Didn't do any sport before that, but he's learned quickly.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, Chris, you guys drew the unlucky straw. You had to do this in the inclement weather. The other guys had it nice and dry, wet for you, and yet you both crashed through the scores of the previous ones. How did that feel?
Yeah, it felt good. It was OK. We were just patient waiting for the right conditions. But it's been good. I enjoyed it.
And Chris, were you aware of this man next to you throwing this thing up in the air?
You can't hear in. No, you kind of... All you're interested in is what you're doing yourself. All you hear is a bang, just hoping that you're doing more banging than he is.
Well, you outbanged everyone, but you seem to have a good rhythm going there. People who've been struggling with these bits of kit, they're a bit unwieldy, but you kept it under control.
Yeah, I think we've been quite a big body weight. You can control it better, you know. But I had no idea how many Chris had done. I just kept going, that was it.
15 lifts and another first place for York's Mark Westerby, but he's being hunted by Chris Innes. 11 reps for the man from Inverness-shire, claims another second place. Westerby sitting pretty with a perfect 10, and Innes is looking very good in second, but just 2 points separate the bottom 3 spots. Well, from one of the tallest men in the competition, onto an event which arguably should suit the shorter squatter competitor. It's the squat lift.
Well, the weather absolutely dreadful here in Minehead. But if you're a competitor, you've just got to get on with it. And getting on with it means the squat lift. 5 barrels in place already, 5 more to be added. You've got to go for 6 reps and it gets heavier every time. You start at
From
230
Ireland,
kilograms,
Paul Roberts.
and then they drop a barrel in each time, just to make it that little bit harder. Paul Roberts, in this driving rain, is the lead-off guy. That bar is soaking wet. It really is miserable conditions.
Paul is of a powerlifting background, so if he's going to start a comeback, it really has to start here.
Well, he's taking his time with this third lift, but it's looked good. Good technique, good rhythm. But is it starting to hurt? It is hurting, but he's got another rep. That's 4. Again, he's a rhythm guy, isn't he? The lift. And is he going to do it again? Oh, it's hard, and he doesn't quite get it.
So close there for Roberts. 4 reps, and I think that could well be right up with the very best today, because the weather is just so awful here. Very difficult for the guys to get in the zone, to get their body temperature high enough to squat.
Put everything into it, as you can see. It's all about keeping the momentum going. If you've got momentum on your side, you're okay. And there's Yoko Ahola, former world's strongest man, setting the barrels.
Please welcome out
And
the
there's
next contestant.
Terry Hollands. He's already qualified. He doesn't have to stick around unless he's checking out the opposition. Possibly taking a look at Chris Innes of Scotland, for example.
Christopher Innes, Speenbridge, Inverness-shire. I'm here to represent Scotland as Scotland's strongest man. Obviously, it means everything to me, being Scotland's strongest man. I want to do well for not only my country, but to be competing against the best guys in the world. I still stay at home with my parents, which is great, because I think if I moved out, it would be takeaways every night and drinking most nights, so it's a good thing. My mum keeps me well in control, like, you know, so. My least favourite event would be the SPAC squat. It's something I hurt my back on a few months ago, and it's always been a bit of a fear for me.
Take your position.
Not his favourite event. The young man from Scotland.
Interesting to note here, he doesn't wear any of the extra powerlifting equipment that the other guys use. No knee wraps, no power suit. Perhaps a bit of inexperience.
He is very raw. They reckon this is a fella that needs a couple of years of seasoning, and as you can see, maybe a little bit more experience wouldn't come amiss either.
Plenty of raw power. You're absolutely right there, but I think a squat suit and some knee wraps would help him with that final lift.
Yeah, and a raincoat, plastic Mac, Wellington boots, you name it. This really is dreadful conditions for these guys.
Please welcome the next competitor.
Full marks to these spectators that have braved the weather.
From England, Mark Westerby.
The man, of course, is used to being out in all weathers with his pigs and his apples.
Take your position.
Amazing to think that this man virtually did nothing athletically till he was 38 years old. He is such a natural-looking athlete when you see him.
Squat.
Let's see how he gets on with the squat. He's a big fella, which isn't always a good, very good. And look at that. I mean, some of the support around the right knee has gone as well. That doesn't help.
No, it won't. He actually hurt his leg about 6 months ago as well. He was worried about this event, and it was his right leg. Oh, as soon as that knee wrap came off there, the confidence would just go right down, and it has done. Westerby didn't even finish the third lift.
Well, that's taken some of the air out of his balloon, hasn't it? He's won the first 2 events, but was all at sea here from the moment he started this one.
He's got that natural farmer boy strength, hasn't he? But when it comes to the gym tests,
From Scotland,
well, he's a little bit
David
questionable.
Eastwood.
Dave Eastwood enjoying his first Britain's Strongest Man under the watchful eye of Yoko Ahola there, who's been there, done it many times before. If Dave's been smart, he's picked up a few tips from Yoko. Now, let's see if that translates into a good performance here. Eastwood's got a chance of breaking the monopoly of Westerby and Innes at the top 2 if he can put together a good squat here.
He's trying to get his breathing right. So difficult in squatting. Got to hold your breath all the way to the top. Couple of sharp breaths, and then you go again.
He struggled on that second one, and he's not looking too confident here, is he? He's certainly taking his time, but no. You saw it on that second rep, that was pretty much at the limit of his ability right there. He'll be disappointed with 2. But again, you can see there is no shortage of intensity and determination. But the body's just saying, I can't do that.
From England, Enzo Martino.
The Harlow boy. Harlow in Essex. A third with the anchor and chain, but then a bit of a bomb out on the safe lift. He'll want to put that behind him, and you've got to have a short memory in an event like this. You don't dwell on the good stuff, and you certainly don't let the bad stuff sit on your mind.
Well, I certainly wouldn't choose a pair of trainers to squat. Very soft material that trainers are made of. His feet will be crushing down on those rubber soles. And we don't want to see another Mick Holding where he slightly slipped and injured himself.
He's not going to make 3, is he, despite giving it everything he's got. I'm sure the weather doesn't help. I'm sure the lack of experience of a couple of these guys isn't helping either. Enzo very new to the game, and it showed.
Look at the pressure this man's under. Nearly 600 pounds on his back. You can actually see on this super slow-mo camera, blood vessels bursting in his eyes there. What strain.
He can't bear to look.
Well, Paul, 4 barrels in the squat. Your first event didn't go too well. Improved on the second. This one, you've really got going.
Yeah, a little bit of confidence now. Feeling a little bit better today. Was aiming to get the whole lot on a good day, obviously. Not so bad, so I'm happy enough with those points.
Now, tell me, when those barrels roll into the cage, do you feel it slam through your shoulders, or are you not aware of it?
Yeah, you feel each other, but it's not as bad as I anticipated, to be honest, because there's rubber matting in the actual apparatus, so it's good. It's nice.
So things picking up, you got your momentum going. Does this give you a bit of confidence for the events still to come?
Of course, yeah, it's as I predicted, because the squat for me is usually okay. So you never know what's going to happen in the next event. And we'll see, but my hopes are a little bit higher now anyway, you know, a little bit more confident.
Right build for a squatter, apparently.
Not bad, not too bad. Could be better, you know. But anyway, not doing too bad.
Good, well done, cheers. Paul Roberts will be very relieved to have claimed 5 points after suffering with a cold for the first 2 events. Dave Eastwood is also beginning to put together a really consistent effort. Westerby still sitting comfortably at the top of the table. Chris Innes will be looking anxiously over his shoulder as Dave Eastwood is now just a point off second. More action coming up after the break. Welcome back to Britain's Strongest Man from Minehead. 3 events gone and York's Mark Westerby leads. To see how he and the rest of the field get on with the remaining tests, let's head back to Butlins. Here's Sven Carlson.
Thank you, Martin. And now to shield walk. The athletes have to grab it, 175 kilo shield. Lift this up and carry it down this 20-meter course as many times up and down as possible. Wow!
Yeah, you hear the phrase getting carried out on your shield quite regularly. I guess this is what they had in mind when they came up with that phrase. Who's going to drag this shield, or carry this shield, should I say, the furthest? Enzo Martino, the first man to try. He managed 56 meters 70 before the shield won. It's a brutal event. It just drains the life out of your arms.
Mark Westerby.
Mark Westerby, used to carrying pigs under one arm, down on the farm.
Take your grip!
Well, Nick, this is one of my favourite events. It's a real test of not just arm and body strength, but willpower as well. Who wants it the most?
And off goes Mark. A good grip, of course, absolutely vital. And in case you're wondering what's going on with Yoko Ahola behind him, well, this event, guys take it to the edge. And what often happens is they'll fall backwards. And you need someone there to catch you when you fall. That's what Yoko's there for. It's so far so good for Mark Westerby, though.
He's coming up to the 60-meter mark here. That means he's gone past Martino.
And still looking comfortable. Now the legs are going. Isn't it funny? We see this so often, you think they're looking good, they're looking comfortable, and then in no more than 2 seconds, you go from half full to empty.
Well, it's a bit of a fear factor thing as well. Suddenly your legs start to go and you get a bit dizzy, and, well, the safe option is just to chuck it forward rather than go on too far.
It's a bit like that old bleep test you do in the gym, isn't it? You're feeling fine, you're feeling confident, you're feeling good, then suddenly, boom, there's no air in your lungs.
Well, Jouko Ahola there, the former world's strongest man, carrying it back with another strongman reserve. You can see they're struggling,
From
and it's 2 of them.
Chris Innes.
Here's a man under some pressure, Chris Innes. He's got Paul Roberts and Dave Eastwood tucked in just behind him in second spot.
Take your grip.
So he is being hunted and chased. And let's see what he can come up with. The grip, so important. He's leaning right back early, so he's not given himself much margin for error. The first 20 done. Remember, the first point to beat is Enzo Martino's 56 meters 70.
Well, he does seem to be struggling a little bit, but keeping moving, keeping moving. Head right back there, so he's trying to get some air into his lungs. That's one of the problems in this shield walk. It really crushes the air out.
Well, he's got past Martino. So he's at 60, but he's in trouble. Oh, he's finding some second wind. Well, this is terrific stuff from Chris Innes. He's doing really well here. I thought he was in real trouble as he turned at 60, and he's put it up to 80. Well, where is he getting this extra energy from? He's going to crack 90. That is a fantastic effort from Chris Innes, and he knows it. He looked out on his feet at 60, and he put another 30 metres on top of that. Absolutely sensational. We'll get the official measurement.
What a splendid distance to do there by the Scotsman. We were talking about his raw power, and that just shows you, plus his determination. That could put him in the final right there.
Well, he needed a big one, and he didn't need Jouko there either, did he?
Oh, Chris, remarkable. Over 90 metres, the longest distance we've seen. That was impressive.
Oh, definitely. Hard going right enough. The first up and down, I sat it too high, and it choked me a wee bit, but once it got a wee bit more tired, it fell, and it allowed me to breathe again, carry on. So, quite happy with it, very happy.
I'm not surprised. Now, you've got the two Daves chasing you. Do you think that's got to be enough to get you through now?
Well, who knows? It's strongman, anything can happen. All it takes is a slip or anything, and anyone's back in. It's anyone's game yet. We've still got 2 events to go, so who knows? Who knows? Maybe no.
Well, we'll let you get your breath back even more. Very impressive.
Okay, thanks. Cheers.
From Ireland, Paul Roberts.
And here's the first of those 2 guys that are chasing Chris Innes. And I guess in one sense, it's good to know what you've got to beat. But in another sense, knowing that you've got to go over 90 metres, that's going to really scare you.
He must have taken a bit of heart out of that good squat in the last event. He's kind of proven to himself that, hey, I'm here, I'm ready for business, my legs are working. First couple of events might not have been great for me, but I'm back with a bang. Now he's just got to keep going forward here, Roberts, not give up.
Well, the first 20. Yes, if you take away the chain and anchor when he had an absolute nightmare start, came last, he'd be very much in the mix here, Roberts. But it's not how you start, it's how you finish. 40 done, and it's hard work, and Roberts can't drop here. He cannot drop out of this Shield event here. He'll lose far too much ground, and he knows it. He's had a regroup, and he may struggle to beat Enzo Martino's 56.70, and I don't think he's done it from where that's fallen. That is a real disappointment for Paul Roberts.
He's just fighting for air all the way along. He has such a big built-up chest that it's quite hard for him to hold this. He's done so much bench pressing in his time, but it's not very conducive to good shield carry.
He's always struggling when he had to take that deep breath at 40 metres.
From Scotland, Dave Eastwood.
Maybe Eastwood could put some pressure on his fellow Scot, Chris Innes.
Dave Eastwood Riney, Aberdeenshire. I'm a tree surgeon to trade. I work with trees. Obviously, when you get to my kind of size, branches tend to bend and break off and things like that. I've had 1 or 2 hairy moments.
Take your grip!
Well, Eastwood can reduce the deficit on Innes if he can go over Innes's 90 metres. But of course, if he can't, that gap between second and third will grow. So an awful lot on the line on this shield carry for Dave Eastwood. He starts with the shield high, just as Innes did. And then as it started to drop, that's when Innes found he got his second win. So maybe there's some technique stuff going on here.
Well, he appears to have a very good clasp around the shield. Unlike Roberts, he doesn't have a huge chest and he's got long arms. That could help him a lot.
Well, he's making short work of this third 20-metre stretch as well, but as we've seen, the tank hits empty very, very quickly. The next target, and he's really starting to hurt, the next target is Mark Westerby. I think he's probably moved past him, and he is really starting to colour up around the face, isn't he? Look at that. Well, he won't take top spot, but he's going to have to be pretty happy for second.
Well, it's not the healthiest of colours, is it? But I guess in that colour you can see the determination.
Well, I think the shield won that battle.
Over 90 metres from Chris Innes. What a performance. And he's one of the lightest men in the field. Dave Eastwood's incredible effort claims another important second place. Mark Westerby is under some real pressure at the top. Innes and Eastwood have strung together 2 impressive events, and both will feel they're in with a real chance. Well, that really was a remarkable performance by Chris Innes. Now let's see if Scotland's strongest man can continue that good form in the next event taking place just along the seafront. It's the Fingals Fingers.
Yeah, and these Fingals Fingers, Martin, are about the only things around here that are taller than you. 5 of them. They get heavier. They're made of steel. All you've got to do is turn them through 180 degrees. They start off at 200 kilograms. They finish at 300. And you've just got to turn them all in 75 seconds.
Please welcome our next contestant.
Yes, and it's Enzo Martino, currently bringing up the rear.
From England,
After a bright start.
Martino.
But this is new territory for him. I'm not sure whether Enzo's ever even attempted the Fingals Fingers. So a steep learning curve for him.
Well, no, he hasn't. This is the first time he's had a crack at it. He had a little warm-up yesterday. Tried the first couple of fingers, and he got them over without a problem. But he's never had a go at all 5 in a row. He's a tall man. Looks like he's got plenty of power in his shoulders. I think so far he's been pretty happy with his performance. I think in many ways Martino turned up here just as a learning experience. He's just getting to grips with the strongman sport. I don't think he ever thought he would threaten the likes of Westerby or Terry Hollands.
I don't think he's going to threaten this third finger. It'll be a massive achievement if he is able to do it, because so often you see it drop to the shoulder, and that's as far as it'll go. He's giving it a real go, though. Got to keep those feet moving, and he's done it. That's a great effort. That really is extra special from Enzo Martino, because 9 times out of 10, when it drops on the shoulder, that's it. It's all over. But Enzo pushed it through. And that's all you want, isn't it, when you're new to this sport, Colin? Nobody's saying you're going to finish first in your heat or anything like that, but give it the best you've got and make a good account of yourself, and Enzo Martino's certainly doing that.
And I can tell you that is so painful to have it on your shoulder like that. This is real determination.
He's going to run out of time here on the 4th. But 3 fingers for Enzo Martino. He almost looks disappointed. He has no reason to be.
Now, what a great fight there. Turning over that third finger. If he can do a good stones as well, he'll have had a good competition.
Yes, but 3 fingers here. Probably going to not trouble the leaderboard on this one.
From Scotland, Dave Eastwood.
Dave Eastwood very much in the mix. He needs a big result on the fingers. He's 2 points out
Ireland,
of second place. Paul Roberts, I think, really has been too up and down.
Take your grit!
I think his chance has gone. His chance went in that last event when the shield proved too much for him. But it's all eyes on Dave Eastwood here, really, as Roberts starts off struggling a little bit with that first finger. That's not a good sign for him. What can Eastwood come up with? Eastwood's the guy that's got to put pressure on Innes in particular, who's 2 ahead of him. His fellow Scot, 2 points ahead of him, should I say. Roberts is finding this hard work.
Well, I think we've seen Paul Roberts is a very strong man. At the static lifts, he's excellent. In the squat, superb. But he needs a bit more fitness. And that's something Dave Eastwood seems to have bags of. He just doesn't give up.
Well, Eastwood's got to really look at this fourth finger and make it count. He's really slowed it down in an effort to make sure he gets this fourth finger. And this is where the hard part comes in. The technique is still good. He's still got the arms stretched and locked. And he's going to make that fourth finger. That was terrific technique. That's textbook stuff. The legs kept churning. The arms were kept locked. But I don't know that he's going to have much left. And he's got less than 10 seconds to turn this fifth finger, and I don't think that's going to happen for him. But 4 fingers, well, he's giving it a real go here, but I think the clock's going to beat him. That's a real shame. 4 fingers. Is that going to be enough to put pressure on Innes and Westerby ahead of him?
Well, his technique was absolutely spot on, as you said. Just kept driving all the way.
Well, Chris, you've seen the other competitors go. They're just resetting the course. How are you feeling? Bit nervous?
A wee bit nervous, but hopefully nerves will hopefully carry us through a wee bit more, give us a wee bit more, you know, to keep going. But see, Dave done very well there. Dave's chasing us all the way there now, so we'll just have to see what happens.
Do you let what the other guys do get to you, or are you just focused on what you know you can do?
I'll just need to keep focused now. It's hard to keep focused when you see there's that many. When you're competing against the top boys, it's hard not to. But it's trying to keep a focus now. So we'll see.
Well, good luck. We'll see you go.
Okay, cheers.
Please welcome our next 2 contestants.
Yes, it's our 2 leaders as well, Mark Westerby and Chris Innes.
From Scotland, Chris Innes.
Not only are they competing against each other, they're keeping one eye on Dave Eastwood,
England,
and they know that Eastwood turned over 4. If they can do 4 in a quicker time than Eastwood, then they'll pretty much be in the final. But Eastwood has given them a challenge. Westerby's got a terrific physique for an event like this. He certainly blitzed the first one, hasn't he? Making them look like little twigs out there at the moment.
That's just outrageous. He's walking through these like they're nothing.
Innes is going well as well, though. That's what Dave Eastwood is looking at right now. But as you say, Westerby is just making this look embarrassing.
Wild power there. 4 and 55 seconds was what he had to beat. And, well, he's duffed that up easily.
Innes is working his 4th one. This is the key for Innes. Watch the clock. Watch that 4th finger. Westerby's got the lot. In a very fast time as well. A very fast time. That would have been a new British record had it not fallen in an earlier heat. More significant, though, in terms of this heat, Chris Innes has done 4 fingers. And he's got a chance at the 5th. And if he can turn a 5th finger here, I think that will absolutely guarantee him a place in the final. He may already have got there. Westerby certainly has.
10 seconds left on the clock, and this is a real battle on the shoulder. There'll be real pain in his body right now. The clock is so close to 75.
Oh. So near, but so far away. The fingers didn't beat him. Father Time did.
Great effort, though. And he walks away with a smile. I mean, you really have to like this man, Chris Innes. New to the sport, Scotland's strongest man in his first year. As for Westerby, though, the 42-year-old, so close to that British record, as you said. Amazing.
Well, Mark, getting all 5 poles over is impressive enough, but it's the time that really makes everyone stand up and take notice. We saw on the previous show, Terry Hollands did an incredibly quick time, 39 seconds. Yours was just over 40. Remarkable.
Yeah, I've never done this event before, but I suppose I'm built for it. I'm long, strong back, and I'm fairly fit, you know, for my size, so it suited me.
Now, how does it, I mean, the lungs must be screaming when you get to those last two poles.
It's not just your lungs, it's your mind as well, you know, and your legs and just everything. But it was great. I really enjoyed that event.
Well, it's very impressive. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Westerby back to his best there in the Fingal's Fingers, the only man to flip all 5, and he did it faster than anyone else could manage 4. Westerby needs only a point to be certain of his place in the final. Dave Eastwood still has that second qualifying spot to aim for. The big battle is between him and Chris Innes. And that battle will be decided after the break. Next up, it's the Atlas Stones.
The beach offers many delightful pastimes, wandering hand in hand at the shoreline, looking for shells, building sandcastles, or lifting 5 giant stone balls onto platforms. It's time for the Atlas Stones.
Yes, and this really is the essence of strongman, isn't it? 5 stones. They start off light. Well, if you call 100 kilos light, and they go up in weight. Enzo Martino had to go on his own, and he managed 3 stones to finish a tournament he'll remember for a long, long time.
From Ireland, Paul Roberts.
Well, Roberts has had too many highs and
And
lows
from
in this
England, Mark
heat
Westerby.
to be challenging for a top 2 spot. Westerby can pretty much coast through this, though.
That's it.
Well, you'd think Westerby has got the perfect combination of size and power to be very good at the Atlas Stones. Poor old Roberts is struggling just to get one on.
Well, Mark Westerby, the first time he ever saw a strongman competition at the age of 38, he was standing in the crowd and a former Britain's Strongest Man was demonstrating stone lifting. He walked out and he lifted the heaviest stone the first time he ever tried it. The natural power of this man. Look at it. The 5th stone, I'm sure, will go up.
And it does. 5 stones in just over 31 seconds. Roberts has had enough on 2 stones.
Oh, we've seen Mark Felix doing very well. Jimmy Marcoux, Terry Hollands, and here's another one who joins the ranks of greatness in the final. Mark Westerby, what a force this man will be.
And Westerby's
From
strong showing
Scotland, Chris Innes.
probably doesn't do any favours at all for Dave Eastwood, who's up against Chris
And
Innes
also
here.
from Scotland, Dave Eastwood.
He's 3 points adrift of Innes. If he could win this and Innes has a nightmare, there would be a chance he could steal second spot, but winning it is going to be so difficult now because Westerby set such a fast time with the 5 stones. So it really would be an amazing story here if Innes were to blow this. And once he gets up to 3, Innes is going to be safe whatever, and in fact it's Eastwood that's struggling. Eastwood's all over the place, so Chris Innes, the young Scotsman, is going to book his place in the final, and he's doing it in some style. This is quite a run from Innes.
Chris Innes is putting in an outstanding performance. Oh, that's just as easy as anyone has put on that 5th one, Nick.
Wow.
And Scotland have someone in the final. They can be cheering away when the final comes around now. And as for Dave Eastwood, the other Scot, great performance. And we'll see him next year, I'm sure.
Yes, he's had a bit of a nightmare with the stones, hasn't he? I think he allowed himself to get a bit tense, thinking about what was at stake, and he has to settle for 2. And he turns away in disgust. But what about this? We said, look at Westerby going for all 5. What about this young man?
Big cheer, ladies and gentlemen, David Chris.
Very impressive.
What a performance from Chris Innes. He knew he needed to hold off Dave Eastwood to reach the final, and he did it in real style. All 5 stones in under 30 seconds. Westerby has led from event 1, but he's been under pressure from Innes from the off. Both men will hope to maintain those high standards. Dave Eastwood can also be very proud of his efforts. The bad news for Mark Westerby is that he tore a nerve in his neck as he slammed down the final Fingal's Finger.
Mark, you topped your group. That's what you must have been aiming for at this early stage of the qualifying.
Oh, I'm absolutely delighted, you know, I really am. picked up an odd injury, but fought on, you know, and I got there in the end. It's absolutely great, it really is.
Now, you're going to have to carry that injury now through to the finals, where it's a completely different mindset. Are you worried about it?
Oh, of course, I'm very worried about it. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But, you know, if my mind can beat my body, we'll get there in the end. I have a lot of power in reserve. If I can keep my head will get me through, I'm certain.
Well, he's shown the guts and determination to carry that injury through, to get him through to the final. Just 2 spaces left to be filled in that final. Join us next time, Britain's Strongest Man, to see who gets through. Till then, from Minehead, goodbye.
And the next heat is tomorrow at 7:10 here on 5, where next tonight Harrison Ford is a good cop who begins to suspect his house guest, Brad Pitt, isn't quite who he says he is in the thriller The Devil's Own.